What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Tactical Insider. Appreciate you coming back for the latest and greatest and what's going on in the world. So, one of the most recent things that popped off is some document that comes from the FBI titled Involuntary Celibate Violent Extremism, right? So it's basically a document with a bunch of catchphrases that are usually used by right wing or conservative leaning people. It's terms used in online conversations and interactions to basically describe what's going on, to give labels to certain things, so on and so forth. I want to talk about the title itself because it's very interesting. So I remember like a few years ago, if everyone remembers, the whole Elliot Rodgers attack, right? And so he went on his old rampage, killed a bunch of people, pretty messed up. But when he had a manifesto, he basically used certain terms, more particularly the incel term. And so for those who don't know incel, it's basically involuntary celibate, basically dudes that can't get laid or can't get girlfriends due to whatever reasons that are listed. And so when that term popped up, right, it was kind of funny because it was the first time that an online like deep web or deep internet concept or phrase was pulled out from the internet and brought into the mainstream. And as time has gone on, you started noticing that phrases that are used in what's called the manosphere, basically it's a segment of the internet where dudes come together and talk about issues that concern them as men, right? One of the biggest issues is in regards to what's happening is radical feminism, dating, divorce laws, child custody, stuff like that. And a lot of dudes feel like they're getting a raw deal when dealing with women, right? So the manosphere itself has a lot of phrases and terms and concepts that they use to interact with each other to explain things that are going on. And so it's very interesting that now the mainstream, or particularly the government or the deep state or, intelligence agencies, are actually going into these spheres and they are basically doing reconnaissance and observing and infiltrating these groups in order to be like, yo, we think this is the next place where the next terrorists are going to start popping up, right? And it kind of reminds me of basic concepts in history, right? Whenever a country or an empire starts to collapse or fall, right? Whenever they go through a great war, what happens is that big intelligence apparatus or national security apparatus that they built up over a certain amount of time in order to go after enemies against the country, once there is no other enemies on the outside, they start to turn that entire infrastructure inside because of the stuff that they're doing is actually leading to the destruction of people's lives, the curtailing of people's rights and stuff like that. And so I think that's what's going on in the wake of the 2020 elections and the whole J6 phenomenon, President Trump, the MAGA movement and all that stuff. There was a counter movement against the leftists taking over, right? All of the crazy stuff that happened before he came in, the PC culture, the demonization of Republicans and stuff like that, right? That's part of the reason why he got in. And then when he got in, it's like these people went freaking insane and they broke every rule in the book. And so again, it created a counter movement to push back against what they were doing. After the 2020 election, Biden gets in, the Biden administration takes over, and then you start to see basically the slow, controlled collapse of the country. And we're in a very dangerous place right now. But because of that, the counter movements that are happening online and in person with people talking to each other, particularly with the men, what's now happening is now the deep state, the intelligence agency, the security apparatus structure itself is now targeting these subgroups because that's where they think the pushback is going to come from in regards to quote unquote domestic terrorism, which isn't really the case right now. We're actually dealing with I want to say a global communist takeover, and they're using the foot soldiers of Antifa, Black Lives Matter, the radical trans activist movement and stuff like that in order to terrorize regular people, in order for them to shut them up, in order for them to buy into what's going on. And apparently it's not working right now. But yeah, so the FBI, they produced this document stating, hey, whenever you see or read or hear these terms, keep an eye out for these people because these people might possibly be terrorists or might become radicalized to do something. It's very Reichstag fire-esque in my opinion, and I'm gonna explain more about that in another video. But yeah, these these people are plotting something. They know something's going on, and they're basically trying to co-opt any sort of mass national resistance against the global communist takeover. And yes, that is a real thing. The World Economic Forum, the Great Reset, the globalists, those are real things. And I think that's what's going on currently in the world today. All right, that's pretty much it. Thanks for listening. As always, take care, be mindful, and most importantly, stay prepared. Peace.